Aloha Friday and good morning. This is Karumbi Davis from Karumbi Realty International, and I'm very excited today. Welcome, Jane. Jane Goodsill is an author of a new book that's coming out here, Voices of Hawaii, that we're going to learn a lot about today. But before we go there, I just wanted to share with you a quote I heard this week, and I believe it embraces how we're feeling going into 2021 and what Jane's book's going to do for us. And let me read that for you. I just want to go on more adventures, be around good energy, connect with people, learn new things, and grow. And on that note, I'm going to bring Jane to talk about her book. And Jane, grew up on Oahu and happily raised, and over the course of her career as a licensed professional counselor, she listened to thousands of personal stories and was fascinated by each one of them. Upon her retirement years, she worked for 10 years on her county's historical commission. And during that time, she developed the skill of taking oral histories. And she has gifted us her talent to come back to Hawaii and share this book with us. And it captures Hawaii's diversity, complexity, and humor. And I'm very excited to introduce you now, Jane, and so you can share your journey with this wonderful book that's coming out here in the next week. Please tell us what got you to write this book.
Thank you, Karan. I got to writing this book because my father had been a practicing corporate lawyer for 63 years. And one of his contemporaries, Jim Case, had written a book about his life as a corporate lawyer. And I was so sad that my father hadn't written a book. And then I realized that I knew at least 10 people, maybe more, who knew my father or had been hired by him, or he was their mentor, or they had worked with him. And I asked these people if I could interview them. So not only did I learn about Marshall Goodsill, I learned about their careers in Hawaii as lawyers. This was a very interesting time to be practicing law in Hawaii. My father started here in 1941 and finished practicing in 2004. And so many things happened during those years, including statehood, including the opening of the airport, and all the cultural changes that we've seen come to pass since then. So I started with those people because I was familiar with taking oral histories, and then it just blossomed, mushroomed, and I followed the lead of anybody who told me, go talk to so-and-so. I did, and ended up with 75 interviews. And then I cultivated pieces from each interview to put into topics in the book.
And, talking about the top topics, I know one of the things you mentioned to me when we first met on this a month ago was you said it's a book you don't have to read from the front cover to the back cover. Can you further embellish on that?
I didn't intend that to be the case when I wrote the book, but the way that I put it together, I had to take pages and pages, thousands of pages of transcripts and figure out what was the heart of each interview. And then I would say, okay, that was about architecture in Hawaii, that was about ranching in Hawaii, that was about philanthropy in Hawaii. And so I would put it into those chapters. And since each one is a small vignette, each chapter has many people quoted in it. And so there are many vignettes that are sort of woven together in a common theme in each chapter. And you don't have to read them sequentially. You can read it now and then a month later read another one, and you don't have to keep track of the plot. They're just little pieces of information, and they're almost all feel-good stories, wouldn't you say?
Oh, it was wonderful. And I was as I was reading, each little section, I thought, oh my God, they've bought a home from me, or they've sold a home, some of these people. So I was like, oh, wow. And, these people are part of Hawaii's history, and I've helped them with real estate over the past 30 years I've been here. And, I came to Hawaii with a backpack and $700 back in 1986, and I didn't know anybody. And I was so fortunate to actually be working for a very prominent local Kama'aina real estate company that I met a lot of these people that you speak to in your book today. And I feel so thankful for that. And one of the topics that I was very interested in, of course, was architecture. Did you want to talk a bit about the architecture?
Well, I did, and I should probably preface that by saying that my father was a young attorney and had saved up all his money, and he bought a house. He bought a lot and decided to build a house on it, and got Vladimir Osipov to build the house. And then they become best friends. And Val was like my Hawaiian grandfather. The amount that they paid for that house, including the land, was $60,000.
Wow.
1951.
Amazing. And that home that your family donated, correct? It just sold for over $2 million in the past couple of years.
Isn't that something? Yeah, yeah. So
Unbelievable.
having grown up in that house, I knew what it was like to live in a mid-century modern house. And so when I got an opportunity to talk to another person who lives in an Ossipoff house and an architect, and I'm not going to tell you all the names because I don't want to brag.
Okay,
They're all
sure.
on the back of the book.
No, we won't give away the book. But one thing, I did mention to you is I feel like your book might be like a bit of a Bible of Hawaii. It's like when I was reading, I'm going, oh, I want to find out more about that. And I could actually take that name and maybe I'll Google search it and, just find out more that Jane piqued my interest in topics. There was architecture was one of the chapters I was extremely interested in.
I'm so pleased to hear you say that because that was my goal was, excuse me, to pique people's interest and give them a platform upon which they could build and learn more. And nothing in this book is me. I'm not the hero in this book. The people I talk to are the heroes. And so yeah, it just sort of evolved organically who I talked to. I didn't plan who I was going to talk to or how many men, how many women, how many ethnicities. It just happened. And I got a nice cross section.
And I know, one of the big topics is environmental issues these days, of course, and you even talk about the natural resources, what's been going on in Hawaii, during people probably, trying to preserve a lot of our lands and not have big, huge corporations come in and, cut all our trees down, et cetera. And it's very tastefully done how you bring in that world of how people are trying to keep Hawaii very, native and to our plants, et cetera. And then, of course, you've got the other side of, you've got Ala Moana Shopping Center that I didn't realize started off as a duck pond. And, that piques my interest because I'm a shopper and I love shopping. And I know we always say, oh, there's so many tourists in Ala Moana Shopping Center. I don't want to go there. But what people don't realize that you explained was, it was really meant for the locals, and then tourists would go there to see the locals because that's where the local people shopped. And of course, that has a story in its own in your book and everything.
There's such a charming story in there about how when they wanted Sears to be the flagship store, Sears said, okay, we'll move from downtown, but all these little mom and pop shops we have around us have got to move with us because otherwise they'll go out of business. And so that was part of the contract for Sears to come, is the Slipper House and the House of Seymour, all the little shops came with them. If you ever wondered how those shops got into Ala Moana, that's how.
I just love it. And then literature, you talk about people writing about Hawaii and the history and the different points of views and how they go ahead and research for their books, etc. But what I wanted to share was the photos. We were fortunate enough you shared some of the photos from the book, and I'll put those up on the share screen now. And you might want to make some comments here about the photos that are in your book.
This is a photo that was done by Lou Queens many years ago. I can't remember the date of it, but I just loved it. And each chapter has a picture of Facebook at the front of it, and I wanted to use artwork as much as possible. So this is one of them. I don't know where it was taken. I just love it. This is a picture of my father practicing. We're practicing in the house, walking me to be married to my husband, Bruce Kelly.
Nice.
This is a painting that doesn't really have anything to do with the picture, with the book, except that there was a group of artists called the Roving Rembrandts. It was all women, and they would go out and do plein air painting, usually on the outer islands. And this was one of them, Margaret Walden. And I just fell in love with this painting, and so I bought it.
I love this photo.
This is a Paniolo. This picture was taken by Woody Woods and given to me by Dr. Billy Bergen, who was a veterinarian at the Parker Ranch for many years. And it's a classic. It's at the front of Voices of the Ranchers.
Very, very nice. And Jane, I think the most important thing is that, we share with people. This is a great book, to give as a gift. I know a couple of my realtors have already asked me for you to sign some copies for them, just so you know you'll be
happy to
busy
do
after
that.
this presentation today. And but you know, it's a great book for someone who's lived here for many years. It's an especially wonderful book for someone buying a home here in Hawaii, just to get an understanding of our community and feel more part of it. But why don't you let us know, I know you're going to do some book signings where people can actually purchase this book right now.
Yes, people can purchase these books at local bookstores. Namea Hawaii has them, and several other bookstores have them. You can also go to voicesofhawaii.com and order a book there. I just found out today that it will be on Amazon, but it won't be on Amazon until after we've given all the local bookstores an opportunity to sell it. So let's buy local. Let's go to our local bookstores and support our local merchants before we go to the international merchants like Amazon.
Nice. And then also what we'll do is we'll post where you're going to be giving some presentations, and you'll be live at some
And
bookstores,
doing some book
correct?
signings. Yes.
And book signings. Fantastic. And then, you know, just simply just email cbdavis@kurumbi.com, and I can get hold of books for you, have them mailed to you, whatever's the easiest for you, because it's important we get these books out for people in the community. And
If anyone's on Oahu, Karan, I can get them to you and we can get them to these people. No problem. We can work together on it.
well, that's very special. Well, thank you. And thank you for your time again this morning. And aloha, and have a great, wonderful weekend. Thank you.
Aloha.